candles, though I can't blow any candles here, but I just turned 22 years of age, so yeah, 22 years of life. And so it was pretty awesome. I had a free Starbucks over there, as well as a nice cake, a chocolatey cake, so it was pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm 22 right now, and that's awesome. So now, with that out of the way, I'm going to begin this program. You could follow along with the chapters that I put in this video. And so now, let's begin. Typing begins now. Typing noises now, they start. So let's do it. So, I am going to create a matrix addition. So, let's start on method. Okay, I am going to create a new method. Public static. It's going to return a two-dimensional array, which will be the matrix, which is add A and add matrix A and B. A plus, let's do plus B. Add matrix AB. Like that. Let's call that. I'm not too sure about the conventions when it comes to A and B. Like that. And they take the input two in the arrays A and B. B, like that. So this is the one, and I'll first return. I'm gonna put a return statement here. So like if it comes, I'll just use that so I don't get this error when I edit the code. So I just return this for now while I'm gonna change it. And so what I will do is that I'll validate whether the matrices are equal. So I am going to check first validate. So in order for two matrices to add together, matrix A and B both need to be A by M times N, like that, in dimensions, or else it would not work. Okay, so I am going to need a method for that. So I will create a side method that checks if a matrix, a 2D array, has arrays of the same length. So if an array, 2D array, has four subarrays, they must have like 6 at least. They must have like the same number of the same size, like a rectangular array. That's what it's called, a rectangular array that must have its subarrays must have the same length. Okay, it'll be a boolean check if rectangular, like that, and you're gonna pass in an array, 2D array X, let's call that X here, and I will return true if subarrays, I mean all of these arrays that are inside the 2D array. So inside the 2D array is literally an array of arrays. So yeah, so I'm gonna get the length equals in x, comma, I'll do 1 like that, xi. The first spot, x0, is an array, and I'm gonna, in that array, in that subarray, it has a length property, which is how many spots that subarray has. So when it's a subarray, it has a length, and this 2D array also has a big length. So yeah, kind of hard to explain, but that's kind of the best I can explain. Whereas the big array is a list of an array of arrays, and these subarrays each have a length. So yeah, now I explain it better. So I'm gonna do a loop. I is less than x dot length, the length of the 2D array, and I plus plus. I do not know why I say 1 plus 1, 1 plus plus, but I will increment I plus plus. But it's just weird that I always put 1 plus plus instead of I plus plus. Now the reason why I make those silly mistakes in the first place. So I am going to take it an if statement. If subarray sub if x dot, oh yeah, it has to be a nested for loop, because you're looping through all of the, no, never mind, it doesn't have to be a nested loop, because I just have to check whether each of the lengths of the subarrays are equal to satisfy that it is a rectangular array. So I'm gonna put an if condition if x I take the index, the ith index, which contains a subarray, not a numerical value. Dot length is not equal to 6, or I mean not equal to subarray length. Return false. So if at one point a subarray's length is not equal to the array of the first one, which I put it here, it's false, because no matter what, if the length of a subarray is different than the first one, then it's going to be false. Otherwise, the loop is complete. I'll return true. Okay, so yeah. So before I start, I continue. I'm going to test this little method. This method is a helper method for this one, because I'll need to use this for this method, which is what my goal is. So I'm going to make an array, test matrix. Let's do matrix A equals new int. So let's do like a simple 2x2 matrix. So that means an array of size 2, each containing 2 small arrays of size 2. Let's do 3, 5. And then second spot is 6 minus 10. Okay. And then I'm going to print out the return value, which is a boolean, and calling this method checkIfRectangular matrix A. So 2 here and 2 here. So it's true here. Don't ignore this. This was an output from my previous project, so I'm going to kill this terminal. So yeah. Or else if I put this would be false because this is not a rectangular array. In that case here, it's false, so this method is good. Alright, so let's begin by continuing this method here. So I'm going to do my validation. So if a and b, a dot length is equivalent to a b dot length, meaning that this array has the same number of rows. I guess, yeah, number of rows. And not only that, and I'm gonna check and second, as well as that the arrays must be rectangular. So if this and this are both the same length, meaning the same number of rows in the horizontal rows, as well as calling this method and this a, and as well as this. So that, like that, if like that, I'm going to proceed, or else I'll print an error. This out. Print line error. Matrix must be rectangular. Must have the same. Slash each matrix must have equal columns. Like if there's an array, a matrix that where the first rows, for instance, have a length of 4, but the third one has a length of 3, it's not a matrix. So yeah, equal columns. And I'm going to return this. So yeah, if this satisfies this condition where a is equal to b dot length, these have the same length as well as these are rectangular, I'm going to proceed. So I am going to create a new matrix here before outside new int. Int like that, resulting matrix equals new int a access the row, which identifies, which points to a submatrix, and this points to this means the length of the whole matrix, meaning the number of rows, as well as here a.0, which points to a submatrix, takes the length of that submatrix. So yeah, I'm gonna do a for loop here, a nested for loop, because we want to add the digits within. I is less than a dot length, which iterate till the whole length of the matrix, and I plus plus, and I continue on. At each iteration of the outer for loop, I'll have to do an inner for loop. It's j. You start at I think 0. J is less than a dot I is whatever iteration is on the outer variable, on the outer for loop. You access the length, you iterate inside for loop, you iterate until it reaches the length of the submatrix and increase by 1. So I am going to add the numbers. So with this matrix, I'm going to add to that resulting matrix I and j. Yeah, like that. I will add those equals. You add the value of a, take the index, the mirrored index, and you plus, and you add with the b, I, and j. So what this does is you take the ith and jth index, which is the same index as these ones. So since the resulting matrix F is equal size, it makes sense to add it to the same make it the same indices, in which you add the value of a to I to j, you plus that with a b and the I to j. That's how you access the values at the 2D array. Meaning here at A, I would take the 8th matrix A, get the index where locates the submatrix, and j is, you can access that number, and within that submatrix. And yeah, I will do that, and then I'm going to return resulting matrix. This return statement is only reachable if this is not satisfied. So let's try it. Let's try to create some matrices. So let's try to do a new matrix. Matrix B. Let's do it 1 minus 1 minus 5 and 2 minus, let's put it 0. We need at least 1 0 in there. Let's try to throw in 1 0 because zeros are underestimated. Okay, and before we add these two matrices, we're going to create a new method. I'm sorry, but I have to do this so that to make it So public static void, we just want to print the matrix, print matrix, and you pass in an int to the array x. I'm going to print a for each loop I int. This for each loop takes a copies of the index, but you have to, the index has to, the type here has to match the type of the elements that it's consisting. So if I put if my for loop loops through this, which is a 2D array, each iteration needs to take a copy of the exact type as the type that is the types of the values of the indices. Since each 2D array, each index of the 2 array contains a one-dimensional array, I have to put a one-dimensional array here. So this outer for loop, I have to do an inner for loop here. Whoops. But it's iterator. An inner for loop. So each iteration of this outer for loop, I'm going to create an inner for loop. So, inner for loop, I'll put another for each loop. So, and this time, this inner for each loop scans the elements inside each subarray. So it takes a copy of that subarray and it extracts, copies the ints, the values which are integers, j, I, like that. And I have to print this out, print without print line, x, I have to put j because this one is a copy of an int, j, and then plus I put a tab here because if I don't put a tab, all of the numbers will be squished and it's gonna look like a whole number that is like 1,000 or 2,000 depending on it. At the end, I'm gonna print a new line like that. After each outer for loop. So basically, this for loop prints a row, and this outer for loop prints the whole matrix. So before we call in, oops, nice cake. Before we add, I'm going to now print those matrices using the printMatrix method. Matrix A. So we know which matrix is print B. So these, I'm going to make it better. Print out new lines. Like that. I'm just going to add a new line like that. Matrix A. They should be capital, by the way. Like, matrices are denoted by capital letters. So I'm going to print them out. Okay, so matrix A has these numbers, and matrix B has these numbers. Now let's test that. Let's test this addMatrix method, and God forbid I get a compiler or even worse, runtime error. Well, I didn't get a compiler error, but so compiler errors are out of the table here. So, but I'm afraid we will get a runtime error or something. So now, if I would do these, now I'm gonna tell the message that I'm gonna adding A and B, and then it's make a new matrix 2D array. as the matrices. Let's see if my method works though. So I should get 4 here, which is good. I should get 8 here, which is good. I got 6 plus minus 5 is 1. And yeah, 6 plus 0, 0. So this method works. No runtime error. Yay. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do is add a subtract matrix. So, to shortcut, I'm going to copy this, add here, and subtract. This method here is different from this, and the only difference is that this method subtracts matrix B from A. So subtract matrix A minus B. So I just have to do this, change a plus to a minus, and then I'm done. So if I do, so this basically adds A and B, and this basically subtracts A and B from A. So you take A, you subtract B from A. You subtract B from A. Okay, so now let's test this method. Just have to change this. Subtract. Subtract like that. Okay. And I should get a similar result. So this 3 minus 1 is 2. 6 minus 5 is 11. 6 minus 2 is 4, should be give 4, and I think I pretty much got this method right, so yeah. So I managed to code a method that adds two matrices together, which is pretty easy, in my opinion. I just have to explain, and that's all. Okay, so these methods, I managed to code these methods that add. Okay, so I managed to code these two methods, which basically adds A and B together, and subtract as well. So before I end this video, I'm going to create some scenarios where it causes an error. So I'm gonna create a test case so that results in an error. If I try to run the script where this and this have different sizes, I'll get an error. And I'll get this. And whereas, same thing, if one of these arrays are not rectangular, meaning that any of these arrays have a subarray that not all have the same number of integers, I'm gonna get a similar error like that. And if I put this, I would normally get a similar result. But if I do this, if I do pass an arrays that have the same dimensions, it's gonna work. So now, before I end this video, I almost forgot. Let's try adding a 3x3 matrix, or let's do a 5x3 matrix. So let's do test in 3 dimensions. Minus 1. Like that. Like that. So 5. Like that. 3. So it's a 3x5. this basically wraps up this video. So, if you like this ASMR video, drop a like if you got your tingles. And I am going to try to make some more ASMR videos as I can, because school has started, in which I might be busy. I might not make as many videos as I